Okay, so this video is going off the assumption you now have a job as an associate. Now, how are you going to keep your job as an associate? And beyond just keeping your job, how are you going to be very successful at being an associate? And so, after working with associates over the years, I've kind of put together my notes and some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to being an associate that I think makes for a successful one. I've had several throughout the years. And so, I'm going to go over some of my summary of thoughts on this and things that will cue you up to being the best producing associate doctor that you can be. First of all, let's talk about production. The ground level thing you have to make sure you do as an associate is you have to produce. You just bottom line is you have to be able to produce. Now you might be paid on commission, but the owner doctor or the company you're working for, they have a lot of support staff in place to help you produce. They have a front desk, they have assistants that might be assigned to you, and they're on a wage. And so whether you're busy or not, that's an expense that the owner is going to have to keep paying for. So as an associate, you need to be productive in order to, one, make money for yourself, but also to help offset the cost that you bring into the practice just by you physically being there. Also, I'd say in order to be productive, be willing to work through lunch or stay late at times. Be willing to take on emergencies. When you work that stuff in, it's great. Sometimes I will look at right before lunch, somebody wants to come in and do a few fillings, and it might bleed into my lunch hour a little bit. I take a look. Do I want that, or do I want a sandwich? Do I want a few $100s of production, or would I rather go out and eat? Sometimes you're going to have to, forego or maybe have a shortened lunch. Better yet, maybe even bring in your lunch so that you can work through and make that extra production. And also for the patient, get them treated same day. I'd say put in your time and get your reps. What I mean by that is be willing to go in and just keep doing fillings after fillings, crowns, extractions, just do your checkups. It's going to be a lot. And once you do a lot of them, you become more efficient and therefore more productive. The other thing too is don't panic about the schedule. Know that you'll be expected to get procedures done in about the same amount of time as the senior doctor, those that are more experienced. At the beginning, they may give a little more leeway, but over time, you're going to have to get the same kind of production or same type of procedures done in that allotted amount of time that you should be given for, say, a crown or a couple of fillings or whatever the procedure might be. And if you're consistently running behind and asking the front desk to extend your time or move patients or say you can't do work, that's going to start to wear on everyone, and of course, it's going to ultimately affect your production. I would say shoot for this, and this filming is here, in 2023. By the end of an 8-hour work day, you should be doing somewhere around $5,000 of production, as low as $4,000, but ideally maybe $6,000 or $7,000. That's about the range you should be in order to be paying for yourself and making it really, quite honestly, your time is worth something, and that's about how much you need to produce to make it worthwhile. Okay, let's move on to patients. Number one thing is making sure the patients are comfortable. You're not going to be rough. You're not going to be, I talked about being efficient, but don't be hurried or rushed, and just being cognizant of this person is sensing or feeling, even though they might be numb, how smooth things might be going with your procedure. Follow up with patients, especially after an invasive procedure. You did a root canal, you did extraction, you did a lot of work, a cosmetic case, whatever it is. Follow up with them. You can call them, you can text them. Just follow up with them to ask them how everything went, make sure the numbness wore away, that the bite still feels good, and all these things. They really appreciate that extra touch. I know you don't get paid extra to do that, but that's going to lead to the patient wanting to do more work with you in the future. Plus, it's just being a good person. Now, here's the thing. When you're talking about patients, you need to be able to connect with them. Okay, here's some bullet points on that. Tell the truth, but do it tactfully. So if they have a situation going on in their mouth, this is not a time to scold them or lecture them on how they should be doing a better job. Instead, just tell them what's going on. Okay, but then also don't shy away from telling them the truth. Sometimes you look inside the mouth and the patient you sense isn't really expecting to hear anything, but you have to tell them what you're seeing. Again, there's a professional and a tactful way of doing that. And then if the patient has something to say, don't interrupt them when they talk. I've seen this happen where patients trying to say something and the doctor or even some staff members will just talk right over the patient, kind of interrupt them as they're trying to explain the situation, as if the doctor already kind of knows where they're going with what they're going to say. Don't interrupt. Let them completely finish. When you're going to explain something, just keep it simple. Not need to go into a bunch of dental jargon in order to kind of get your point across. Instead, keep it simple for something that they can understand. The other thing, look at them, in the eye when you talk. Don't be looking off in different directions. Just look at them in the eye, because that way you have a real connection with that individual. I'd say talk like a real person. Don't act like you're new. Again, this video is probably geared towards a new dentist. You have to go in with confidence, not arrogance, but confidence in what you're doing, and have to get a sense that even though you may look young, that you kind of know what you're talking about. Be clear. Kind of talked about that earlier, but also no waffling. What I mean by that is you're not going to use a bunch of words like maybe or sometimes or at some point or it could be. You don't want to get into all this fuzzy ambiguity. Make sure that what you're saying is just very clear and direct. Okay. When you think it's appropriate, use the patient's first name. I think it just creates that better connection. If you need time to assemble a treatment plan, tell the patient that you're going to put this plan together. You need time to sit down with all your notes, x-rays, if you guys take photographs, look at all that stuff and put together a plan and tell them that you're going to get back to them. And then actually get back to them. Get back to them either later that day or the very next morning that you're back in the office. Make sure you contact them or have your front desk contact them and kind of go over what the treatment plan is. What's next up here? You'll know you're connecting with them if they schedule. If you keep seeing patient after patient, new patient exam, periodic exams, you're recommending treatment, and your schedule is not filling up, there could be multiple reasons for that, but one of them could be that the patient's just not connecting with you. And it might be worth trying to replay how these appointments are going. You may even want to record your appointments and just kind of listen to how you sound. I've done that before when I was first starting off. I actually watched a video or created a video without the patient seeing it, and no patient identification was there. It was just kind of a hidden camera, if you will, to kind of show how am I projecting, how am I doing it. I kind of went back and looked at it like replay film from a football game. I looked to see what I was actually saying to patients. And I was quite shocked, really, about what I was actually saying. I was able to learn from that and improve. The other thing, too, we want to do is if you're going to be going in for a limited exam, think about this. The patient is called up to the office, made an appointment. They explain what the situation is. They say they're having pain, on the lower left, we'll just say. They bit into something, now the tooth hurts. Okay. If this is an existing patient, it would be smart to go into their chart before they're coming in. You see they're on the schedule, so you can go into their chart, look back and see, is there any history about this tooth? Let's just imagine it is the lower left. It's tooth number 18, has a history of having a very large filling that was placed 4 years ago. At the time, the doctor who placed it put in a note saying deep decay, tooth might need a root canal in the future, might need a crown. Or maybe there's cracks on the floor of the tooth, whatever it is. If you have some sort of history about this, know that. And then when the patient comes in, then you can walk into the room and say, hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I was reading through your chart. I noticed that, about 4 years ago, you had a large filling placed in this lower left tooth. I saw there was a note in there that it was deep, close to the pulp, that there was a possibility of a root canal. But tell me, what's going on with that tooth today? When you walk in with that, they know you did your homework, and patients appreciate that, and they feel like now you can be a person that can be trusted with moving forward with their treatment. So that's what we call a flash roll. It's like you're going in there, you're just kind of going through what it is, the history of everything, so the patient doesn't have to go on and tell you all over again what they just said on the phone. And also sometimes patients' memories of what happened, when it happened is fuzzy, but if you come in with your documented proof of what happened when, it'll just kind of bring more reality to the situation. Okay. All right, let's move on to staff. Staff are a big part of who you're going to be working with daily, and they're going to help affect you and your ability to produce and be successful in the office. I say bring ideas to the office, but not just ideas that help your pay, just things that help the entire office. If you're contributing in that way, I can tell you the owner doctor, the manager, whoever's there is going to take notice of that. If you're going to take CE courses, again, bring back whatever information you have and be willing to share it with a group. Vocalize suggestions during staff meetings. Don't just sit there and take it in. Actually have some input. Obviously, be pleasant with staff. You think this would be a given, but I've had some associates that just thought the staff are below them and they could just, run right over them. And that obviously is just not going to work. We devise treatment plans, run it by the senior doctor. They love to collaborate and they like to give their opinion. I think that would help out as well. not just to boost the senior doctor's ego, but really just to kind of maybe help give you some insight as to putting together complex treatment plans. Another one here is when you delegate stuff to assistants. I know you probably work in your state, you have different things you can delegate, but I would say just because you can delegate something doesn't mean you necessarily should. I would say don't simply go back to your desk and scroll on your phone when you could be back there helping pack cord, make temporaries, clean cement. Simple things that pitch in clinically. It just helps the flow of the office go much smoother. Now, you don't necessarily have to go flip a room, but every once in a while you might have to, just again, to kind of keep things moving. And you don't have to necessarily carry out the trash, okay? But what I'm saying is, clinically, if there's something you could do that could go either way, they delegate it, you do it, maybe you hop in and do it. One, it might help sharpen your skills. Second, though, it may free up that assistant to get in the next patient that you're trying to see and be productive with. And lastly, just kind of wrap this up with just some style points. I'd say write out your treatment plans and put them in order. This will help clarify your thoughts and kind of show the patient and staff that you're dedicated to what you're doing. But I have found that when I write out my treatment plans, they're much more comprehensive. They make much more sense than when I'm just kind of going off the cuff, verbalizing how I think the plan should go. Not a bad idea to show up a little early to work. Don't spend time doing personal stuff like scrolling through social media, shopping, reading the news, stuff like that. When you're there, even though, again, you're getting paid commission, it's probably best to be actively involved at your job instead of just waiting to be called into a room. I'd say if you're going to post stuff about, dentistry or practice, post stuff, about your office, promote where you work. I think your employer would actually appreciate that. You can take pictures or photographs of your cases. This will help in, again, putting together comprehensive treatment plans. You can give these photos to the office for marketing, website content, for social media. Go ahead, let them have a copy. But you can also keep a copy for yourself in the future. If you ever end up going somewhere else, you can take these digital assets with you. The office that I own and that we work with, the different equipment, is we use a DSLR with the macro lens and the ring flash. Those setups cost about $3,000, which I know is a little pricey, but if this is part of your career and what you're going to be building a portfolio for the next 20, 30, maybe 40 years of your life, it might be worth it to invest that money to get some really good documentation of your cases. Wear loops with a light like this. It's going to make you a much better dentist. This costs about $2,000. Again, it's going to make your clinical work that much better and faster, I might add. Don't change up treatment plans that the senior doctor already has. If you're going to do a checkup and the doctor says the tooth needs a crown, don't come in and say, oh, no, it doesn't need a crown, it just needs a filling. Don't start changing up stuff. If you really think that there is some difference of treatment plan, you can discuss that with the senior doctor, whoever it was that was the original diagnosing doctor for that case, and maybe come to a better understanding of why they did it that way, or maybe they're open to changing it to whatever you suggest. But you don't want to confuse the patient by them hearing one thing and then you come along and you say something else. Follow up with specialists or mutual patients. You have implant cases, root canal cases, cosmetic, ortho, restorative type situations going on. Get on the phone, talk to these specialists about the case, or maybe follow up with them and say, hey, I put that abutment crown on top of that implant. You did a really good job. Here's an after x-ray. Really enjoyed working with you. That will make you stand out in the eyes of your specialist. I'd say, just in summary, just bring an attitude of caring to the office. All these suggestions that I've listed here are just kind of the baseline, is that you actually care about the kind of work that you do and what you're going to be known for as a professional. If you notice right down here, there's this dentist training manual. It's a book right here that I came out with. You can see it on Amazon. It has many suggestions like the ones I just went over, plus many other clinical tips and tricks. That is, I think, available. It is available on Amazon, and hopefully it will help in any way I can to build your dental career. All right. Thanks a lot. Take care.